Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I mean, this is one of those things that, you can't even afford to debate now, multiple streams of income. How important is it for one to not to rely on just one stream of income?
Look, I think it's probably one of the most important things right now, especially in the economy that we're living in, right? I think a lot of people, what they're finding is that they're living hand to mouth, and that's probably because their expenses are kind of just overarching the actual income that they get. So you start needing to find ways in which you need to be creative and actually increase your income streams. And there are several ways in which you can look at, but I think the one thing that we have to make peace with is that we are not above doing certain things. And a lot of people, what they do is that when they're looking for an additional income stream, they take their day job and they try to compare the income stream to that. Now, it will never be that, right? So if you're a doctor, you are not above waiting tables on the weekend if you really want an additional income stream. And I think the one thing that you must also ask yourself is, why do I need an additional income stream? So sit down and actually do your budget so you've got a better and a clearer picture of why you need an additional income stream. And when that money does come in, I always say, compare yourself to the government. Don't be like the government. Don't take every single revenue that you've got and throw it into one pot, and then from that pot hope to allocate to every aspect of your life. Rather, say, okay, this is my budget. I'm falling short here on paying for a certain clothing account, right? Then you go and find an additional income stream and you attach it to that clothing account. So every single amount that you now are receiving as an additional income stream, you are now using it for that specific clothing account or that specific credit.
So it's not about me getting an additional income and then wanting to turn up every weekend.
No, because that's what most of us do, is we do increase the income stream, and it's a big thing here in Johannesburg. We all love hustling, We all think that throwing money at a problem is going to solve it. No, it's also your mindset, because if you get an additional income stream, 70% of it is not going to go to the allocated issue. That's the problem, because 70% of it goes into your everyday, and then somehow you always try to do lifestyle inflation and you start to match up your lifestyle to the actual income. So at work, they can give you an increase. They'll give you 20% increase. I can promise you that within 12 months, you will still be back at square one where you're saying, I don't earn enough.
So that means if you're not financially disciplined as well and your mindset is not in the right place, then it's difficult.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to come to another, thing here, because you mentioned it, Jorge. You're not above waitering tables, doing this and that, and whatever little thing that you can find to increase your income. But what is the best way of doing it to ensure that, the reality of a burnout and exhaustion does not hit you?
Okay, so there's a gentleman called Daval Bhatia. He speaks about the 7R, the theory of the 7R for creating wealth or creating other streams of income, right? And basically, most of us already have one. If you have a job, you already have one, and it's called remuneration, right? So two of them are actually very active. It's remuneration and rate. So remuneration is your salary, and rate is if you are selling certain things, right? So he's saying, because there's 7, you don't need to do all 7, right? And I'm going to give you the other 5. You don't need to do all 7. What you need to do is to strategically allocate time to all those 7 R's, so that your day it's your day, but generally your life, so that you don't experience that burnout. So for most of us, the job, the remuneration is the one that takes the biggest chunk of your time, right? Then you need to say, what other mix of passive income can I find that can then, increase my my income, can then also accommodate and compensate for, because I'm spending so much time with my remuneration. So the other 5 are your rent, your return, your rights, your royalty, and your replication. So, I always ask this question, how many of us have done an honors degree? We've got research papers we've done. Guys, publish your research papers. Let other people reference from them. Get paid for it, because it's royalties, right? How many of us really do have, you've got a beautiful weave on, right? Rent it out. If you must, you must do what is necessary, right?
And it's funny, because I was talking about that. I was saying, I can't even imagine renting it out, because I'm not sure I want somebody else wearing my hair.
Granted, they'll put a stocking under it, don't worry. But I just feel like there are passive income. There are things that we can do passively that can assist us in, compensating for the income that we're currently getting without us then feeling that burnout. Most of us, the problem is that we are so used to the active ways of making making money, which is the rate. So a lot of us will either sell, you know, slimming teas, will sell clothes, will sell hair pieces. Those are very active. So they've got a very high demand on your life and your time and also your job. But the other ones, I mean, some of us can sing, guys. Sing, go put your music out. Wow. Sometimes just create music. People think that you need to create music that you must put out there and become commercialized. A lot of YouTubers need bed music, and we can't find bed music. So we need the composers and the producers to just create simple sounds that I can put on my videos. Guys, there are so many people that are underground that are making so much money. Because they're not commercial, we think that they're not existing and they're not making money, right?
That's very interesting, especially when you look at the fact that, you know, talk about something that we don't explore a lot, which is a passive income stream. Would, let's just say somebody's thinking of buying cows and investing in cows, and we know the returns there. Is that a good investment?
I think, look, because I'm not a financial advisor, and oh, by the way, I need to put this disclaimer out there, and nothing I say here is financial advice, right? Look, I always say to people, invest in what you understand. I sit with a lot of people and I say to them, oh, so what have you invested in? Then they'll say, whatever, mutual fund, whatever, balanced fund. And I'm like, how does it make you money? And people can't answer that question. It is of utmost importance that you understand how you make money with whatever it is that you're putting your money into. Cows is probably one of the most traditional investments that we've had in this country. Most of us who come from Emakhaya, Lalini, you know, from the homesteads, we all have seen cows. We know how cows work. Cows, you make sure it stays alive, it procreates, it increases the cows there a lot. Voila, right? I mean, it's also been one of the investments that your mkhulu or your gogo will pass down to you. So livestock has become really an asset class that we need to be looking at. But what I love about livestock in South Africa is that because it's not easy for people in the inner cities, what they've done is that these guys have then created fintech around livestock. So you get guys like Livestock Wealth, we've got an app, the guys from like SV Capital, who also have an app-fed group where you can actually invest in livestock, in cows, in sheep, in pig, without you actually physically having them and having to manage them. So you basically pay for your cow, you buy it, it's a virtual cow, but if you really would like to see it, they can take you to their farms and you can actually see your cow. You can point it out and say, that's my cow, right? But you are tracking it on an app. They're taking care of it. You pay management fees. That is also your insurance, because we know that eventualities happen.
Yes.
So if something is to happen to your cow, they can just replace it for you. So it's, and I always say, if you remember the traditional Stockvel was a rotation system, right? Now you've got us re-looking at that traditional Stockvel and saying the rotation system might not necessarily work, but the underlying foundation of all these investments at the end of the day is the power of numbers.
Can we still rely on Stockvels? I mean,
definitely. I always say you need to sit down and ask yourself, what is the end goal of the Stockvel? There are people that still do Stockvels for groceries. And by all means, please do it, right? Because it does hold you accountable to save for your December groceries. Then there are people that are doing property Stockvels. These are guys that are coming together and saying, we are now becoming the funders of our own property investment companies. So we are no longer relying on the likes of CEDA, the banks, to give us funding. We're saying we are, as a group, and as a collective, we can come together and actually fund our own businesses, and we can create some sort of financial power, right? So that is another form of a Stockvel. You can have, I mean, people have all sorts of Stockvels. They've got furniture Stockvels, weave Stockvels, shoe Stockvels. I always say, as long as the people in the group have an interest goal, but what we would ultimately like to do with the Stockvel model is to start using it to actually start acquiring investments in assets. Instead of us buying something that is, you know, short lasting, it doesn't, you know, you can't really point it out. We need to be able to say after 5 years, sithengile leyo mall. There were 20 of us and we managed to buy a mall.
And I know that I'm out of time, but I just have to sneak this question in. How do I then get to a point of getting another income, but shying away from, you know, the notion of status, that when I talk to you, I say, I'm so and so, I do this, this, and this, and that, and making that attractive instead of then coming back and saying, no, this is what it's actually about. It's not for status.
I think the first thing you need to do is to get over yourself. Honestly speaking, we all need to get over ourselves. And it's traditionally the system has taught us that titles really matter, right? So you walk around telling people, oh, I'm a CA, oh, I'm a doctor. Yeah, but you're a struggling doctor. What does that then mean to you? So I think the thing about personal finance is that you have to sit with your own budget and your money and your statement and start understanding, I'm actually under pressure here. The first thing you need to do is to actually cut down on your own life, because most of us, I always say this, your first income stream, your additional income stream is in your bank statement. We're spending way too much money on data. We're spending way too much money on restaurants. We're spending way too much money on entertainment. Sometimes we spend money that you don't actually know what happened to that money, right? So start with your bank statement, literally scrutinize it, go through it, say to yourself, I'm spending this much on contractual debt, I'm spending this much on living expenses, where's all the rest of my money going? And start, look, if you need to do an envelope system like we used to do in the past, you got to do it. You have to be honest with yourself when it comes to finances.
I wish we had more time, but thank you so much for those pointers. I'm sure our viewers have taken, something from this conversation. That was Nicolette Mashile, the founder of Financial Fitness Bunny.